Just going to do a little giveaway. I'm not going to use the raffle software. I'm just going to grab a few people and send them whispers. If you get a whisper with a bunch of weird letters in it from me, you may wish to open the LOTRO store in game and get some LOTRO points. Hell yeah, now I got to cause chat to explode.
Yeah.
I can't even click it so fast.
You don't need to click. It's too much effort.
Well, I was trying to, there we go. There we go. Yeah.
See, if you just asked for the plural of Gandalfs, it would have gone slower.
The plural of Gandalfs? What is it?
That was me. I was like, we'll let chat handle it.
Nice.
It's great. Many fantastic answers, by the way.
If you have a flock of Gandalfs, it's a gaggle.
A gaggle of Gandalfs?
Yeah, a gaggle of
Nice,
Gandalfs.
Nice.
I think it was a missed opportunity for flock of seagulls.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah,
They could have grabbed it, and they just chose not to. Flock of Seagulls was better than Gandalf, I guess.
And I think somebody suggested if you had Greek Gandalfs, they were Gandalf Podi or something.
Perfect.
Yes, it was weird.
A cauldron of Gandalfs. That's
like
what they're
that.
called. Yeah.
Love it. The funny thing is I could go back to my desk right now and basically copy and paste Gandalf in the game
And make a gaggle.
and just make a
Nice.
gaggle of Gandalfs if I felt like it. And then like laughed and chuckled at myself and then deleted it.
Customer service came to me the other day because somebody had found the circle of chickens on top of the roof in Estelden.
They found it!
And they're like, what the heck? There's a circle of chickens. I don't understand this. And you can't actually get to it as a player, but
No,
you
you
can
can't.
zoom your camera out far
Yeah,
enough to
yeah,
just
yeah,
barely see
yeah.
it. So customer service was all concerned about what this might be and what it was for. So you obviously need to make a circle of Gandalf somewhere high up, remote.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what the circle of chickens is for, but thank you for finding it.
How is it that I don't know about this?
Hey,
You left for the day.
Tybur, let me see that mic quick.
Did I break it? Am I not loud enough?
No, someone else's. People have folks have been complaining that it may not be. So let me just
I was trying to be loud, but
plug and unplug and see if sorry for folks in chat if I'm causing any pops.
snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies.
So you're certainly coming through fine on my end. Let's see how it sounds here. So.
Am I talking now? Can you hear me talking? Do I need to lower my voice to talk through this microphone?
It's just, I think that mic is just.
We will
being
just pass
kinda
around the
quiet.
other mic and call
Yeah,
this one done.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Let's do that, huh? Yeah.
Well, you can leave it on the stand. I like
Yeah,
it.
that'll be good.
Oh, okay.
All right, very cool.
We'll just slide it.
Okay.
All right, so let me introduce our new guests here. I guess and to the screens left. This is Tybur. You are QA. You do Palantir, and you do a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, more than just QA.
Yeah, I sort of you're sort of the
I
engine
do
as far as I'm
random
concerned.
things that need to get
Why don't
done.
you just take it off the stand? And
I'll just slide the stand. I like it this way.
Okay.
Then I can
Yep.
go like this and look like I'm relaxed.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm relaxed.
And so a lot of what you do actually brings the game to fruition during downtimes. You're often doing a lot of the build work and some of the deployment work and things like that.
I'm in charge of all the preview and testing builds and deployments. And then I help out with some of the live build and deployment things, but we have a whole team for that. And I do a lot of scheduling stuff on the side, and I do preview server stuff on the side, and I try to post in the forums when I can, but I'm lax on that.
I see you posting in the forums.
I try to keep up with it. People on Bullroar probably know me better as Loft. I'm plus Loft when Bullroar opens.
Okay.
And then I test things, of course. I tend to test the engineering and systems end of our game content.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, let me pass the mic here.
And whenever we need to crash servers for testing, that's my job.
Oh, really? That's the
Oh, yeah.
fun job.
It's the fun job.
You get to crash servers
I
on
do.
purpose. How cool is that? All right, I can't remember your forum name right now.
My name is DarthCeltics,
Oh, DarthCeltics. Right.
which isn't the best name, but since I'm a Star Wars fan and a Celtics fan, it seemed to fit. So
Cool. One
Yes.
of them's a sci-fi team, and the other is a movie.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But so now you are the lead QA for Lord of the Rings
Yes.
Online.
Yep.
Hey, what specifically does that mean?
So that basically means that I just oversee the small team we have. In the past, that was actually a lot of like management work. Now, because we have a small team, I actually spend most of my time testing, which is fine because I would much rather test than manage anyway. So
Yeah. Sure. All right. So can you put an hour count into how long it takes to test a final build for, let's say, a non-point update? So like a big update 18, update 19, update 20. How many work hours? Is there an average number of work hours, or does it just depend?
it's just going to depend. It depends on how big the update is. Like obviously for update 20, we put in a lot more time than we did for update 19.3, just because you have a lot more things that you're trying to give out. So,
I can promise you for every one of our major updates is all the hours that we have.
Yes.
Or
Right.
actually, it's about, yeah.
All of them is
All
the
of
answer.
them,
Yeah. What is harder to test? A new, say, item system, or a new, let's say, raid mechanic or raid in general? Or is it a matter of space, like a large landscape area?
hands down, it'd be raid.
Group content is always the hardest.
Yeah. Not so much because of the mechanics. It's just trying to get 12 plays in there and making sure it's balanced. That's probably the hardest thing we have to do.
Okay. Sure. I also wanted to talk to you because you not only do some QA work, but you do some music work as well.
Yes.
So, how did you get started with that with Lord of the Rings Online, if you remember?
So I originally started here back in 2008, hoping to break into the sound team, because I wanted to write music for games. And as it so happened, we didn't have any spots open on this sound team, and I ended up liking QA. And then a couple of years back, when we were doing, I think it was the second portion of Minas Tirith, I offered to do a piece for the game, and I went to our art lead, I went to the design lead, and they said it was good, so we put it in. Then when we needed stuff for the Cape of Belfast housing zone, they asked me to write for that too. And when I saw that update 19 was going to be kind of light, I saw, okay, well, he has a chance to write some more stuff.
Cool.
So I've basically just been trying to fill in the gaps wherever I can.
Are you able to do it in a, say, basically pro-level home studio? Do you hire out a lot of instrumentation?
Everything I do out of my house. It's all virtual instruments, because it's quite expensive to hire an orchestra.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically everything I've done is with my own time, nights, weekends, mornings, with my own budget.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's my way to kind of put my imprint on the game, and I mean, I know that players love to get new stuff to listen to, so however I can help that, I'm happy to.
Yeah, it's got to be really cool to. I've played music myself, but I've not had an opportunity to do any sort of work directly in a game. Certainly not been able to do any scoring. It must be amazing to hear that like in the actual game world.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's fun because, like almost everyone else, I've been listening to the music of this game now for more than 9 years. And I hear this stuff that Chance did, and Steve, and Egan, and Howard, and everyone. And yeah, it's definitely cool to hear my stuff in there now too.
I was gonna say, can't we hear some of your music with the Cape of Belfless
Yes.
housing music box?
Yep.
Cool. And I'm actually going to play a track here, I think, when we're done.
Just
So.
got invited out to Scotland if you want some free studio time.
Oh, nice. I'd go to Scotland. I'll pretend to. I'll pretend. Yeah. That sounds good to me. Nice. All right. So let me pass the mic back to you, Tybur, because you are. Am I right that you are, quote, in charge of Palantir?
Sure, yep, I'm in charge.
All right. So I as the community manager, get asked fairly regularly, how do I get onto Palantir?
You send in an application to the LOTRO preview email address that's on the forums. There's actually a forum thread about how do I apply for Palantir. And that email address was just recently updated to be our new Standing Stones Games email address. And I will get that email, and then every 3 or 4 months, we go through all those emails, and we look for people who are really dedicated to the game and want to spend time testing. We actually look at account histories to make sure that there are no infractions against the account, to make sure that the account is in good standing, either a premium or a VIP account. And we also actually look at your filed bug history. So if you file bugs and they're helpful, we love it, and you're more likely to get an invitation. And then, like I said, every quarter or so, although I don't think I've done it since last October.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while because we had to change all the legal terms when we switched over companies.
Oh, okay, right.
so-
That was actually going to be my next question, because I
Yeah.
get asked a moderate amount is, when next?
Yeah, so I have a list of people I want to invite, and I'm waiting for the lawyers
Okay.
to write me the paperwork so we can actually invite them.
Okay.
It's coming.
Nice.
Yes, they do not hire me for my legal writing skills, which is
Yeah.
probably a good thing.
Well, like I say, the lawyers need to sign off on all that stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
And the reason, just to back up, the reason why is because there's certain sort of requirements. These are people who have to sign an NDA
Yes.
and things like that. So that's what that's about.
And if you get into the Palantir program, we really value your feedback, but you're not allowed to talk about it to anybody outside of the game designers or other people on the Palantir program. And we want to make sure it stays that way, because they see things that way ahead of when it's actually in the game. They see some things that never get into the game. They see things in a state we don't want to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I brought a prop. I brought my black
did you?
speech name. My name in black speech is Razash Liktarluk.
How do you know that?
Oh, Chris Pearson gave us all our black speech names.
Yeah?
Yeah, he translated all of our names into black speech. You know yours. Here you go.
My black speech name is Shakril Morgru.
That's a good one.
That's
Yeah.
a nice accent, too.
I tried. I've been practicing it. I think you're gonna see some of those names show up somewhere in game at some point. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I won't even recognize.
Let's see. Let me see if there's any questions. I also should just say I turn to Tybur a lot when I get questions from you guys in our chat room saying, what's with this thing? And I don't know what the thing, enough about what is the state of this thing. Often I will approach Tybur first and say, hey, what's the status of this bug? Because I tend to assume, just because it tends to be the way it actually works, QA is probably aware of it, but sometimes they're not. Usually they're aware of it, and then it's sometimes good for them or the development team too to know that it's being asked about and all that too. But for my benefit, a lot of times it's good to approach them first and say, what is the deal with this thing? And I can get a perspective that really helps me answer the questions then back on the forums or Twitch or something like that. So. Someone else asks if you are Matt Harwood. No, that's someone else.
No.
Yeah.
That is, in fact, someone else.
Yeah.
For real.
Yep. Let's see.
You don't even look like Matt Harwood.
No, I don't.
Theraller has a question I'm going to assume isn't Shirley, but as a Midwesterner, I need to ask you, DarthCeltics. Is there a disadvantage to having a strong Boston accent?
No. So I'm actually from Rhode Island.
Okay.
And growing up, everyone thought that I was from England.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
I don't know how.
I think I've told this before, but when I first went to Massachusetts here to work for Turbine at the time, back in 2010, I had just unpacked all my stuff from a van, and I got set down to my apartment. It had been a nice 20-hour drive, and I was exhausted. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to unpack. Let me just go somewhere, grab a sandwich, grab a beer, and go to bed. So I went to a local place, and at the time, I've always been into like more the local beers, the microbrews, things like that. So I was like, well, I'm in a new state. I've never been. Surely there must be something. So I asked the bartender what kind of beer they had, and he listed off all the regulars, and then said, yeah, we got Macalta. And I was like, Macalta? I've never heard of Macalta beer. So yeah, I'll take one of those. And he puts down a Michelob Ultra. And I was I was like, oh yeah, I'm in Boston area.
Yep.
But all right, sorry about that tangent. But
Not all of us have R's.
Does anyone know anything about? Are there plans for a new housing region? I haven't heard of any plans for a new region. We definitely are, like that. You guys like the work that we've done recently in housing. So perhaps, we'll be supporting that in the future, but it's not something that we have any, say, things penned in to a specific update or anything like that.
I'm happy to answer any question about the new housing region, because
okay.
I'm actually was the main designer on it.
Oh, very cool. So what were some of the big pieces you were trying to address with the new housing?
One of the things I was a little displeased about the original housing is it was so tiny, so small, right? Like it didn't feel. You're playing an epic adventure, right? And like you go home and you're a little shack. I mean, that's kind of cool if you're role playing like some sort of hobbit, right? Or a drifter or something who doesn't want a house. But if you want a big mansion to hold all your spoils of war in, I was like, you gotta have something epic. So yeah, that was kind of the main reason why we did Gondor and we did these really large houses. Also, I love the ocean. We're pretty close to Cape Cod, things like that. And I was like, oh, let's do something on the ocean.
The decision to put it, by an ocean there was one of the better decisions we've made. I think I'm speaking for you guys on behind the mic or behind the camera there.
I fought hard for that.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I fought really hard for getting an ocean beachfront property for our new housing area.
So why can't we have apartments in Minas Tirith, et cetera, et cetera? Again, it's just a matter of that would be development work that's being prioritized toward other areas right now.
Apartments in Minas Tirith is also a performance issue. It would not be wise at this point to add a whole bunch of interiors that lead into the center of Minas Tirith.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Another reason is I know players love yards. Yeah. Yards are big. And if we had Minas Tirith apartments, the amount of yard space you're going to have, you might have a courtyard, but like it's not as big as the ones in the Cape of Belfast.
People can't walk by and see.
Yeah, and you can't put the new Stone of Eric in your yard. It wouldn't fit.
Nice. And one of the other changes of being able to decorate all the housing, and that has also proven quite popular. People are able to, really design their space in a way that they've been wanting to for a really long time now, and the new housing system also supports that. So, yeah.
And that was actually a pet project of one of our engineers who saw the Belfast housing. He actually plays the game, and he came up to me and he's like, you know, this would be so much better if I could just move this thing a little bit. And he's like, I think I can prototype that in like a day. And he did, and it was awesome. And so he worked on that. It was awesome. But it's always amazing to me that we have engineers and designers and QA who all play the game, and we get good ideas from playing the game. We're like, hey, this was a thing I was experiencing, and it was hard, or it could have been more fun, and that actually leads to some really nice changes to the game that we hope you like. And similarly, when we get forum threads of people saying, hey, this would be so much better if just this one thing, we do read those, and some of them actually do turn into things.
Cool.
So, yep.
Cool. Actually, maybe you should stay on the mic, because I know the answer to this. You're not going to like it, Meredith 1301, but I'm going to answer it anyway, because I get it up. So with yards, in the chat here, with yards, I noticed we are unable to move the items in our yards.
You are unable to move the items in your yards.
Why is that?
So we actually originally had a prototype where you could move the items in your yards. And when we tested it, it turns out you could move the items in your yard into the middle of the street and into your next door neighbor's yard. And you could make them float above the ground. And we're okay with people floating things in their own houses, but Middle Earth is not a place for floating yard items. So we had to take that away because we did not have a good way to restrict the movement and still let you move it in a way that helped. So we could restrict it so much that you literally couldn't move it very much, and then it wasn't very useful. So we just took it out entirely.
Yeah. So sorry.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that just sometimes it makes sense, even though it would be cool to do everything always, but sometimes it just can't in that case, right? Do any of you know anything about the music system in the game? Have any of you touched that? Okay.
Yes.
We made an instrument.
Oh, you made an instrument?
Yes.
So what was that like?
So there was this thing that happened a couple years back where our sound designers decided that they were going to retune the instruments. And it ended up not going quite as we had planned.
Can you take off? All right, thank you very much. Yep.
So what ended up...
Okay, that was a creepy line.
No, please continue with your story, though. I want to hear
So
about
what
the
ended
music
up
and stuff.
happening is that we had a loot that a lot of players felt was not up to their stands, and I won't say that they're incorrect because, well, it wasn't. So we decided that we just take the old loot, we take the same sounds, we just create a new instrument, and we repackage it as the Loot of Ages.
The Loot of Ages.
And that was basically a pet project for QA because we wanted that to be back in there.
Nice.
As a minstrel, I really appreciated the fact that they took the time to do another instrument that was just from an RP perspective.
And I will say, without getting anyone's hopes up, which I know is tough to do, but when we have time, which is probably sometime towards the end of this year once water's out the door and everything, my plan is to hopefully record a few new instruments.
Oh, fantastic.
We have been talking about another
Yes.
new instrument for about a year and a half, just to be fair.
Nice.
It's something we've talked about with Odd because it requires them to do new animations and make new instruments. It would require me to find a studio and people to record. It would require a budget and time that right now we just don't have.
Yeah, right.
But I know that we have certain things that players have been asking for years that I'd love to be able to give to them.
Nice.
That's super exciting.
Hopefully.
I hope.
Hopefully.
Just the thought
My
Fingers
head
crossed.
just exploded with all the instruments that we should have in the game.
And
I have a list of
completely
about 50 if you want them. Yeah.
I just wanted to let you
Didgeridoo.
know that we have a guest. We have
Oh,
another
okay.
guest.
Cool.
And I'm gonna let her come in and sit down.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank
Awesome.
you. Yep. Well, hello.
Hi.
Hello. With us here is Athena Peters. She was
I don't know if I'm on camera.
for some time here with
Oh.
Lord of the Rings Online, the executive producer of the game. She's currently working on some other projects for Turbine, rather in the Standing Stone games here, but she was kind enough to stop by and say hello to all of us, to wish the LOTRO community a happy time.
That's right. Happy 10th anniversary, LOTRO.
All right, so I'm trying to remember, when did you take over? When did you start in LOTRO?
Wow. Yeah, probably. That sounds right. Yep. Around that time.
Okay. Say it to the mic. What?
Oh, sorry. It was sorry. It was around 2014.
Okay, cool. And what do you... So, someone, you get called to the top of the mountain, and they say, guess what, Athena?
Guess what?
You have won the lottery, and you get
That's
to be
right.
the executive producer of Lord of the Rings Online.
Yeah.
What's the first thought through your head?
Well, I was really excited, actually, because I had been playing Lord of the Rings before I ever even came to work at Turbine. I played Lord of the Rings in its beta for a while, and I really loved how beautiful the world was. For me, my class was the Hunter class. I really enjoyed playing the Hunter class. I'd played it for a little while, and then I'd moved on to, other things, that being somebody who's worked in the MMO industry and mainly on MMOs my career is over 15 years, and most of that was MMOs. I played a number of them. I never actually got a chance to stay with one for very long. But it was one that I had fond memories of. So when they said, we need you to go and run that team now, after I'd been running Dungeons & Dragons for a little while, I was very excited to go back into this world, which was, it's very different than, Dungeons & Dragons, which I also love for very other reasons, the individual dungeons and everything. I always miss the bright open world that is Lord of the Rings, which is a huge contrast to the dungeon running of Dungeons & Dragons Online. So it was exciting to go into that. And I think the other part of it, too, is how excited the community gets about lore building and, just their community events and kind of writing their own stories within this world. It was really fun to be able to jump in and see, how I could help and, with that.
Nice. So I'm trying to, I was working on the other game, Dungeons & Dragons Online, at the time that you were executive producer, so I was a little less up on what you guys were doing right when you started. Can you remember what one of the first areas you got to work on was?
I honestly cannot remember. I can't remember.
I know, it all becomes a blur
when
after
I would
a
have
while, right?
joined in.
Yeah.
2014. That would have been around Helm's Deep.
Yeah,
Helm's Deep?
I think I came in probably right after Helm's Deep was done.
We were building Minas Tirith.
Then we were in the middle of building Minas Tirith. Yeah, so we'd had a little bit of stuff before that, and then we went into Minas Tirith, which was really exciting because I think about when I came in was when we started talking about that and concepting it out. Those are some of my favorite memories. Is even that update, like just the massiveness of that space, and then of course, like the storyline stuff that came in there, the couple of I don't want to make spoilers for anybody, but just the exciting stuff that we had that could slightly change what people expected of the story. I'll put it that way, and knowing those secrets ahead of time and being able to just be like, we can't tell the players anything. We've got this stuff to like shock them, but we're not going to reveal it. Was kind of fun because it's in a game that's built around such a well-known story. It's very rare to have those moments. While as a game creator, story creator in other places, right, you get that opportunity all the time to surprise your players. But in one that's built around such a well-known franchise, it's very hard to get those surprise moments. So I was excited to actually be involved in one of these like big reveals, right? So,
nice. Is there something, I guess, that you'll most remember from your time as executive producer? In a positive one.
Yeah.
No,
sure. I think that was one of the bigger ones. I also am super happy that I got to, like, when I was on this team and working as executive producer, like, I took on housing as this little special pet project that I'd try to like encourage a little bit of work on it, and then we'd end up with things that were needed to take higher priority in the short term. And I didn't see the things that I'd looked forward to come to fruition while I was still on the project, but I have since seen those things happen after I left, and that was really exciting for me to see the giant houses that are available now, the expansion of the hooks, that kind of stuff. It was one of those things that was special to me, and I heard a lot of the community talking about it, and it was one of those things that was like in the background sitting there going like, guys, we're really working on this, but I can't like tell you because then you're going to get excited, you're going to be disappointed it won't come as quickly as you want it to. And so knowing that continued and was actually finished so well, after the fact was really nice.
That really tells you how long it takes.
And
to turn around on an idea.
Yeah, it's like I worked on this like a couple of years, and had been working on it that whole time, and or trying to work to get it through that whole time, and then it still even came to fruition after I left. So it just takes a lot of time sometimes to get big ideas there.
Last question I can think of here is just about every project that someone works on, they bring something with them to the next project that's like, from LOTRO, I learned this. Do you have something for LOTRO that you can think of?
I'm trying to think, like, specifically, I think from LOTRO, I learned how much the community really can connect with your story, and how much that actually ties the community together, and how much importance that can have. And when I say that, like with the story and the tying of the community, like that includes things like cosmetics and housing systems and stuff. A lot of times in our business, it's very hard to sell upper management on how important those things can be, because they're not really easy things to tie to the business specifically. Like they're not a thing you can immediately say X equals Y. And so they're one of those like more slow burn. But I think that my work on LOTRO really helps me in going forward in being able to support those cases and be able to point back to specific instances where that was actually a super important thing for the long-term health and success of the product, right? I would say that would be it.
All right.
We do have a great community.
We do. We have a great community, and they're very excited about even the things that make the world theirs, right?
Well, thank you very much, Athena.
Yeah.
And I just, for those in chat who are curious, you are currently working with Turbine on one of their mobile projects.
That's
and doing
right.
some things there. So
Yep.
if you follow them over on that side of the building there, that you can learn more about those projects and maybe check it out if you're interested. So.
Cool. All right.
Well,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you very much,
Nice
Athena.
talking.
Yep.
Happy anniversary.
Yep. All right. So we have a question about, are we going to get more housing hooks? Is that something that we could theoretically do in the future?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just a matter of fitting it into the meat grinder that is the production schedule.
More housing hooks is a thing that we have talked about. It turns out that in our older housing areas, the original 4 neighborhoods, there isn't a lot of space left for hooks. There just isn't. Whereas in the new Belfast housing, there's lots of space left for hooks. So it has some technical difficulties that need to be solved, as well as the time to implement. But it is something that's on our list of, hey, we would love to have more hooks sometime in the future.
Cool. Let me see. What about the music system itself? Any plans for improvement? I think they mean the ABC system. That was done really as a side project, kind of, wasn't it?
Yeah, the ABC system was done by people who are no longer here.
Yeah.
So as far as implementing like new things go, well, we can basically like create stuff and plug new stuff in. Rebuilding the system from scratch isn't something that we have the capability to do.
Or more likely bandwidth to do. I mean,
Right.
theoretically, we could
Right.
let
We
money
could-
fall from the sky and hire
yeah.
a small army of people to make it happen.
Yes.
But realistically, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, all right. Someone asked a question after Athena was out here too. What about the other executive producers? Are we going to see Sev? Yes, Severlin is going to be here a little bit later on today. He'll probably be here towards the end of the workday. Probably, I think I've pinned it in for
7 o'clock-ish.
7 o'clock-ish, something like that. So
6:30-ish.
there you go. And for those who are curious, in the coming probably week and a half, we're going to be chopping up some of these specific interview segments and putting them up as highlights, so that if you miss some, you have to
And
go
you
to the
don't want to
store or
watch
whatever.
all 12 hours all
yeah,
over
exactly
again.
right.
I mean,
we'll
if you
have
do want to
that
watch all
available, too.
12 hours again, we fully encourage it, and thank
yeah.
you for following and liking our YouTube and Facebook and Twitch.
Right. All right, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to take a 5-minute break away from the mic here. What we're going to do is we're going to put on a few tracks of Bill Champagne's and show off a little bit of art, like in-game screenshots and that. And like I say, we're just going to stand up, stretch the legs, grab a drink of water, and we'll be back with some more interviews or just a bit. So thank you very much, Tybur and Darth,
Thank you.
for stopping by.
I
Really
like
appreciate it.
that. We're gonna call you
I
Darth.
shortened it.
It
that's what
sounds
I'm
much
gonna say.
more menacing.
It does.